Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118
Well, holy smokes. Here we go, you guys. Let me get the comments going so I can see what everybody's saying. Well, if you're wondering, that's the best part. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys can give me a thumbs up or a loud and clear before I kick this off in the comments. Just want to make sure you guys can hear me and all sound is good to go. Let's see. I'm getting a lot of good comments, but all right, thumbs up. There we go. All right, you guys, welcome to the AlphaWarrior Show. Here we go. You requested it, I listened, and we're gonna make it happen. Little bit about the show. Who's Alpha? It's me. But what's more important, and the point I want to make, is it's all of you as well. You know, for those of you that are familiar with me from Twitter and Spaces, you get what I'm saying. For those of you that have been invited by other people, we're at a precipice, or we're coming up on a precipice. Some of us are already there with what's going on in our country. Yeah, those are some awesome comments. Thank you, guys. And the purpose of this show. It's going to be a call to action. We're going to look at giving out information, the dissemination of that information. But what's more important is that you guys take away what we talk about here. You get the information, you vet the information. Just because you know me, just because you're familiar with my accounts, just because you trust me, do your responsibility, do your due diligence, vet the information. That's what's important. Once you vet that information, you're comfortable with it, give it to your coworkers, give it to your family, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook. I know a lot of us don't like to be on Facebook. I know a lot of us don't want to be on Instagram. The censorship that's going on and everything like that, but it's the trenches, you guys. It's nice. It's nice to have this channel that we're going to be able to come to. The guest lineup that we have over the next few weeks is going to be pretty awesome. But I also want to bring people onto this show that are just everyday Americans like myself, like the people that we have in Spaces. I want to give, every week I want to give you guys the opportunity to be a voice as well. We're going to have some big names on here. Some doctors and some leaders that we see on the mainstream media, and that's important. But what's more important is that all of us, the regular day people, the police officers, the nurses, the teachers, the plumbers, we need to have the voice, because when we're done with this first episode today, what you guys are going to realize is it's on us. So this is new to me. I am going to stumble through it. But hopefully within a few shows, I'll get the knack of it. Any criticism you guys throw my way, I'll ignore it. Unless you guys are throwing some money to help out, then I'll probably listen a little bit more.
I wrote some notes, so you guys are going to see me glancing from screen to screen as we go through some things. I'm going to try to keep the shows from about 45 minutes to an hour. If we bleed over a little bit, it's only because we probably have some important information to cover. But, whatever we have, we'll just get into the next episode. So tonight and next week, the shows will be Monday. But I know a lot of people are still watching the NFL. I'm not, we shouldn't be watching it, but I'm a realist and I know some of you still are. And I don't want, Monday Night Football interfering with the fact that we can have a little bit more of an audience. So we'll be shifting it to Tuesdays. And as I get a little bit more comfortable, hey Corey, as I get a little bit more comfortable with, with the way the show is and the setup and the programming, I'm going to try to make it a little bit earlier. Rocked it with 7 o'clock Pacific tonight, just because this was a beast. This was an undertaking I wasn't expecting, you guys. I literally thought I hook up my camera to my computer, buy a microphone, and I'm good to go. I didn't realize there's a lot of copywriting stuff that I had to study. There's programming. There's just a lot to it, you guys. If any of you are familiar with this kind of stuff already and you want to network with me, you want to reach out to me, hit me up on Twitter. We can exchange emails or we can exchange phone numbers. I'm looking for all the help that I can get. I do want to try something. Let me see. There it goes. Okay, so if every now and then you guys throw a comment and it catches my attention, I'll throw it up there. And Tickle says, "Goat boy." Well, Tickle, here you go. You know what that means. It applies here too. So, other thing I want to start off with is the prayer. I know a lot of people don't believe in God. A lot of people aren't spiritual. But guess what? With everything that's going to be coming up and the things that we're going to talk about, you're going to find God one way or another. So, with that being said, I'm going to say a quick little prayer, you guys. Lord, I ask that you be with everybody that's watching this show tonight, that you be with me, that you give me the courage and the wisdom to use my tongue and my words in the way that you prescribe and not my own motives. Father, I ask that you give us all discernment, that you give us peace, that you be with all of us. You hear the spoken prayers and the unspoken prayers. And Father, guide us and protect us and help us save this nation. We pray and we ask all this in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. So, the first thing we're going to talk about, you guys, is First Amendment. I'm going to get into my story. I kind of had to adjust some things. My story, it would take hours. It would take a few episodes to share. And however important my story is to me, there's a lot of other information that we're going to have to cover, and that's more important. So I'm going to give a brief rundown, a brief summary of what my story is, and then we'll move on to it. I'm probably going to have to split my story into like 3 segments, because like I said, I really don't want to eat up the airtime that I have on here with it. But before I go into my story, I am going to show something. Let me remove some stuff. Because this has everything to do with my story. Just give me a second. It rules all these things. I gotta make sure I find the right one. And there it is. Share audio. Okay, here we go.
If you have a warrant or something,
We don't have a, yeah, I'm here friendly, talking.
Okay.
If I had a warrant, do you think there'd be 3 people here?
No, because you come in gangs, just like you are now.
No, just anything.
Okay.
Hold on, you guys. My apologies. That's part 3. Let me go to the first one so this makes sense. What it is, it's the FBI showed up at this guy's house. And I want you guys to hear how this goes and how it works.
Your name?
Mike Baruchia,
Can I see your identification? And who are you with?
FBI. You can't film it. You can see it, you can't film it. Okay?
Hang on. Bob, you can... Your name?
My name is Russell Hughes.
And you are with?
Yeah.
And you
Investigator Kevin Thomas with the Jackson County Sheriff's Office.
okay. State your presence.
State my presence and
Yeah.
why we're here to talk to you. I'm here to talk to you, see if you can give us a little help. To be honest,
On what?
I can discuss it, but we need to sit down and talk first.
About what?
About what?
Yeah.
Well, the FBI has a lot of programs going on where we try to identify some situations or people or groups that may be of interest, and you're not in trouble. You haven't done anything
All right, let's go into part 2.
that put the hair on the back of your neck up that you'd be willing to talk to us about, and that's why we're here to talk to you.
I'm sorry, I can't talk about something like that.
Okay. So you're not willing to talk to us?
No, not unless I'm under arrest.
No.
You have
no,
a
no,
subpoena
you haven't done
or a
anything.
warrant. Okay.
You haven't done anything. Okay.
I hope you understand my concern.
Absolutely. You haven't done anything.
Okay.
Yeah. But you understand why we're here.
No, I don't.
I just
See,
explained it to you.
I understand what you said, but I don't understand why you're here.
You don't understand why I'm here.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Have you done anything that may get you some publicity in the past?
I'm not going to answer any
Okay, but
questions.
the reason you hadn't done anything wrong, but you're known, and you're known to have association with sometimes some people in your groups.
If you have a warrant or something,
We don't have a,
if you-
Jim, I'm here friendly, talking.
okay.
If I had a warrant, do you think there'd be 3 people here?
No, because you come in gangs, just like you are now.
No, just saying again.
Okay, 3 is a gang
It's
over
not a
over
gang.
one of me.
I'm one of you. You got 2 of you right now.
Because he's local and we thought that makes you feel comfortable.
That's it.
Nothing makes me feel comfortable when any police are at my door asking me.
If you change your mind, you can call Atlanta FBI.
Call the Atlanta
Ask for
FBI.
us, and
We're trying to get your help.
we'll talk to you. Okay?
How much you paying?
Well, that depends. What kind of help you can provide.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Wait, now you're interested.
Wait a minute. It's got to be worth my while.
That depends entirely on what you provide.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll think about it.
Okay.
All right.
So it's the Atlanta FBI office.
Okay.
Okay. So just look them up. Give
By
them
the
a call.
way-
All right, you guys, so there you go. So this is what they're doing to Americans. I'm not the only one. And the reason I wanted to share this story is I just saw this today. I literally saw it a few hours ago while I was getting ready to prep for the show. This is what's going on across our country. You know, you guys hear about what's going on in the UK. You hear about what's going on in Australia. And we're going to touch on that a little bit later. But it's happening here in our states. The next video I'm going to show you is how my story starts on January 15th. It's not a video I watch very often. It's not something that I like to see, but it's important for you guys to see it, so I'm going to share it with you. Just give me 1 second as I pull this up. There's no sound in this one. It's from my neighbor's surveillance camera. So what you guys are seeing here, just so you know, it's 3 different SWAT FBI vehicles that showed up to my house. This is my front lawn. It's my black truck is parked in front of the vehicle you see in the center. What you guys can't see is the entire street's blocked. The street behind me has SWAT vehicles. there was easily probably around 25, 30 different members of people either assigned to or part of the FBI SWAT team. This is January 15th of this year. It's a few minutes before 6 a.m. in the morning. What they're doing right now is me and my family are asleep. They're positioning themselves into the back of the house, covering all the different points of exit, as they would deem for me. This is what they brought to an American's house. Speaking about myself, somebody with zero criminal history. Marine Corps combat veteran from 2003, almost a decade and a half of law enforcement service, highly decorated service. Was a good cop. But if you're wondering what brought them here and what started this, it's not because I was at the Capitol on January 6th. It's not because I'm the leader of the Oath Keepers or any of these other patriotic groups that are out there. That's a flashbang you saw on the front of my house. You can see the truck lights flashing in my driveway. At this point, I'm waking up. The explosion was so loud. What you guys can't see is right there behind the shrubs and the bougainvilleas in the front yard is my son's room. So it sounded like somebody. My first thoughts were a drunk driver came and crashed into my truck, and then the truck crashed into the garage of the house, because not only was the truck alarm going off, but the alarm to the house was going off. So grab my phone, I start running the front door, and I'm shutting off the alarm to the house. As I'm shutting off the alarm to the house, I'm getting ready to step out. This, you guys, is just, it bothers me. My fiance, as I'm getting ready to open the front door, she yelled at me and she's like, "Get away from the door." And as I look at the door, there's probably about close to a dozen little red laser dots all over it. At the same time, my phone goes off and I answer it, and it's a dispatcher, and tells me this is the FBI and we have your home surrounded. I explained to her that I had my son and stepdaughter were home, 13 and 12, and that it was just myself and my fiance, and at the time our newborn. She was about 2.5 months old, 2.5, maybe 3 months old. I explained to her that I'd be coming out. My hands would be up just to let the guys outside know. One of the other things I didn't mention, that if you saw in the top right of the corner of the video, was they launched a drone into the air. So I want to remind you guys, I'm an American just like you guys. And, where I was going with what brought them here was my post on Twitter. Now, mind you, I've had my Twitter since I think 2009, 2010, and in the recent 2.5 years, just like many of you, I've been put in Twitter jail many times because they don't like my post about whether it be the election or the jibby jab or anything else that's going on in politics. I'd get 1 day suspension, 3 day suspension, just like all of you guys. But I've never had my account suspended or put in jail for anything that violated Twitter's rules with anything with violence. What you can see there is me coming out in my shorts and a t-shirt. Mind you guys, this was in January, so it was still freezing cold. Even here in Southern California, it was really cold. So I'm following their commands. I'm walking back towards them, and there's a lot of things going through my mind. What's going to happen to my family? What's going to happen to me? And what the hell's going on? Because I'm a good guy. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm asking them, do they have a warrant? I want to see the warrant. They're telling me, hey, when the investigators get here, we'll show it to you. I'm going to take this off now because all it is them walking me away, and you guys don't need to see my kids and family coming out. So I go and I'm outside in the front yard for, I don't know, it seemed like maybe 30 or 40 minutes. and I watched my family. I watched. This was my son's birthday, you guys. This was January 15th, 2021, and this was the day that he turned 13 years old. So this is how my son's 13th birthday went. This is how he'll remember it. No matter how much I try to, made the day better for him. But what was worse is I saw my son, my stepdaughter, and my fiance have to come out of the house with guns pointed at them. Now, granted, like I said, I'm a law enforcement veteran. I'm a combat veteran. These are things that, I've been a part of. I understand them. My family doesn't. They're regular people just like you guys. So just to understand the amount of fear that they probably had going through this, I can't fathom. There's, like I said, there's so many details that I could share. I'll share one of them with you guys. Over the next few nights, something that ended up hitting the slider, I think a bird or maybe a bat had crashed into the slider, and my stepdaughter came running into our room because she thought that they were here again because of the explosion and the flashbang. So this is the kind of PTSD that was put on my kids because of Twitter posts. So they come into my house, and like I said, I'm going to speed through this real quick so we can move on because I'm looking at the clock. They come through my house, and the investigators finally get there. They take me to the back. I'm on my back patio. I tell them, I want my attorney if you want to speak with me. They force the conversation on me regardless. They open up a black notebook, and I see photocopies or printouts of my Twitter profile. So I'm like, okay, this is where we're going with that. The stuff that we've been seeing and the stuff we've been posting about, overreach, a tyrannical government. It's playing out here in my life and in my home. They question me about some posts. When I do the part 2 of this, I'll share the post with you guys. It was about 5 or 6 posts, and they were trying to take them out of context. And I'm not stupid. I was an investigator too. I did gangs. I was a detective. I did undercover work. And they pretty much had me there. I want to say the interview probably went about 2 hours or something like that. And at the end of this interview, or getting close to the end of the interview, there's 2 questions they asked me. And I can tell you guys, I've been a part of thousands and thousands of interviews, whether assisting somebody or being a part of it. There's these 2 questions I've never asked anybody. The first one was, what party are you registered with? And I told them Republican. And the next question is what president did you vote for? Now, I want you guys to think about this. This is the United States. I'm a veteran, and I'm a law enforcement veteran. And the FBI SWAT team, it's not like they made a phone call, hey, come, we want to talk to you. The FBI SWAT team flashbanged my house, showed up with a tactical vehicle with a guy on top of it with a gun mount. There was a drone in the air, and my family and kids got pulled out at gunpoint. And they're asking what president I voted for. It doesn't matter. I told them President Trump, but it shouldn't matter. But it shows you guys, I'm giving you guys first-hand story that this is 100% political, that the FBI is being utilized as the political arm, the political strong arm of what's going on in our government right now. Why else what do those questions have to do with my Twitter post? What do they have to do with anything? But it was asked. The next thing they told me as we started to wrap up this conversation was the investigator. His name is Candace. He actually works for the Rialto Police Department, and he's assigned to the task force. Yeah. Listen to this. Listen to Ed, you guys. Definitely like and share. He told me this is your opportunity to take the off ramp. Now, this is the significance of that statement, you guys. In other words, what they're telling me is, shut up. Stop tweeting, stop posting, stop going against the grain, stop using your First Amendment, and you don't have to worry about this happening anymore. Now, I struggled with that night. They didn't arrest me that night. They arrested me a few days later. But I struggled with that night because I'm a Marine, you guys. You know, I went to fight for this country. And I have a big problem with someone telling me that I don't have freedom of speech. But at the same time, I don't want to subject my family to what they've gone through. Let me tell you guys, the amount of tears that have been under the roof that I'm in right now has been a lot. You know, one thing I realized is I have a very strong family, a very powerful woman that's in my corner, and some very, very good kids. But nonetheless, you know, as strong as they are, I didn't want to subject them to this. So I had to make sure that I talked to my family, and I said, hey, listen, I know what we're going through is scary. I know it's not over, but we got to fight. You know, we whatever it costs me, we got to fight. And I made the decision that I was going to continue to post. You know, I started reaching out to talk show hosts, and I said, you know what, all this is going to do is this is just going to empower me to be a bigger voice. So somebody's asking, what did they arrest you for? So 5 days later, on Inauguration Day. So when they showed up to my house, let me rewind just a second, and I'm going to wrap this up in a few minutes, you guys, so we can move on to some of these important topics. But when they came to my house, they had what's called a gun violence protective order. And they got it based on California red flag laws. It's another violation of our Constitution, the Second Amendment. It's what we deal with here in California and a few other states. But they confiscated all my firearms. So 5 days later, they arrested me for my old police patrol rifle, a rifle that I had with me in service for probably 10 years, give or take a year, with all kinds of documentation, not only that I have, but that the department has. And I won't go into the specifics of all that stuff. You guys, like I said, it's still an open case. You know, I'm still going to court for this stuff. But that's what the arresting charge was for. They charged me for possession of an assault rifle. And it was my old police rifle. So to answer the question, that's what I got arrested for 5 days later. So on Inauguration Day, they arrested me in the evening. I was working for the Palm Springs Unified School District. I was one of the patrol officers there, and I also worked games for the students. And I kind of find out that there's undercover units and some marked units that are waiting around the district office where I'm going to come into park to call it a night. So I tell my partner, hey, just let them know that I know they're there and I'll be on my way over there. So I went home real quick and I changed into civilian clothes, and I wanted to kiss my fiance and kiss my baby and kiss the kids, because I mean I didn't know what was going to happen, you guys. I didn't know how long I was going to be gone. I didn't know where I was going to be taken. But the one thing I know is if there's undercover cars waiting for me, they're not waiting to talk. It's because they're going to arrest me. I mean, that's, like I said, I've done the job long enough to know that. So I go over, I meet them at the location right next to the school district. I come out, and you know, one of the officers is like, hey, you know why they're arresting you? And I'm like, yeah, you know, it has to do with my social media. They were at my house a few days ago, and he goes, no, it's not about your social media, it's actually about your rifle. So that was kind of a surprise to me, you know, like I said, given the history of that. So they arrest me, and they transport me to the Larry Smith Correctional Facility. It's a jail that's in the city of Banning. While I'm getting transported over there, the transportation officer ends up pulling the vehicle over into, I think it was one of their gas stations, and he comes and he unlocks the doors. There was a paddy wagon they had me in. I wasn't in a regular police car, and he goes, hey, come and step out. And I'm gonna tell you guys, my initial reaction, because of all the crazy stuff that's going on, was for a split second I'm like, hey, is this a setup? You know, they're gonna try to say I tried to escape or something, or you know, like it was, that's all crazy. That's where my mentality was going with it. And I stepped out, and he says, hey man, I know who you are, I know your history, and this was one of the guys that worked for the Palm Springs Police Department, not one of the FBI guys. And he says, we know you're a good guy and you don't deserve to be treated this way. And he removed my handcuffs from behind my back and put another set, so he double cuffed me and allowed me to put my handcuffs in my lap. And let me tell you guys, that just that little bit of kindness and compassion helped me keep it together, because there was a lot going through my mind. You know, I was on my way to be transported to a jail where there's inmates that are there serving sentences because I arrested them. There's guys that are awaiting murder trials that I arrested at the very jail that I was being transported to. So I knew when I got there I would be target number one. So I get there, and they shut the jail down, you know, because, you know, I'm a prior law enforcement officer. And all the intake guys all treated me very well, very respectful. But then I get transported into the custody officers that take me to the back, and I end up getting thrown into a solitary confinement cell. Now granted, I was completely cooperative, you guys, and they threw me in a cell, and I measured it with my feet. That was about 9 feet by 10 feet. just a concrete bed, a steel toilet with a drinking fountain attached to the toilet, and just a mess. You know, it was a horrible experience, you guys. And I was there for about a day, and then my family was able to bail me out the next day. And like I said, there's a lot of other little details that go to it, but that's the gist of what happened. And the reason I want to start with my story is so you guys know where I'm coming from and what I've experienced and lived through. For those of you that join us on Spaces on Twitter, you constantly hear me speaking about our January 6th Patriots that are in Washington, D.C. I'm not the only one that this happened to. As a matter of fact, there's Patriots right now, you guys, that are in Washington, still in those solitary confinement cells for 5, 6, 7. There's some that have been there for 8 months, you guys. And when we get to the end of this episode and we do a call to action, we're going to talk about that. But just understand, there's people that are in these solitary confinement cells that have not hugged their wife. They have not kissed their little girl. They have not gone to any sporting events with their kids. They haven't been held. They haven't been touched. So tonight when we're done, when this episode's over and we go to our social media and we call it a night and we go lay down with our significant others, just imagine if you couldn't do it for a week or a month or 2 months. Just imagine the torture. And that's what Patriots are doing right now for us, for me, for you, and for this country. Alpha, aren't you worried about doing this show, Rachel? You know what, Rachel, I'm not. You know, we're dealing with a corrupt system. I have an honest story. The truth is going to come to light. The truth is going to surface. I've lived a great life. You know, I'm a veteran. I've been around the world. You know, I served my country. You know, I'm the father of 5 girls and a son. You know, my fiance is an amazing. I've had a great life, you guys. What is the worst that they can do to me? Take away my freedom? Make up more charges? Throw me in a jail? So be it. Hopefully it'll motivate somebody or several people to take my stead. You know, pick up the microphone and continue on with the movement. You know, or what? Take my life? I'm a God-fearing man. You know, I'm not without sin, but I'm a God-fearing man. And if you know they were to take me out, I know where I'm going. So my greatest fear, Rachel, is not doing anything and taking the coward's way out and seeing, you know, my little girl who's now 9 months old, seeing her grow up in a country that's not like the country we got to enjoy and we got to grow up in. You know, that's a greater fear for me than them, you know, taking away my freedoms or taking away my life. So we'll move on. So let's start off with you guys. You know, the show, I said, you know, we'll probably go a little bit over the hour mark, and I apologize about that, you guys. But I want to cover these topics. So the first thing I want to talk about is the rise. Is this country going to rise or is this country going to fall? And let's start off by talking about our fake leader that's a resident in the White House right now. And let me show you guys what he has to say about what's going on. So President Biden, now granted, you guys, you know, bear with me. I know these transitions between, you know, Twitter posts and these videos I'm going to show you, it's going to take me a minute. I got to learn how to work this system a little faster. But this is President Biden, and this is what he posted a few hours ago today. The past 17 days have seen our troops execute the largest airlift in U.S. history. They have done it with unmatched courage, professionalism, and resolve. Now our 20-year military presence in Afghanistan has ended, in his full statement. Now he's right about our gents that are over there, you know, taking boots to the sand and making it happen. But it ain't got shit to do with him, because it's a debacle, and he costed a bunch of Marines their life. So that's the way Biden sees what took place. Let's see how somebody else thinks about that. And this next clip, you guys, is might make some of you guys a little emotional, but hey, it's important. All of the stuff I'm going to show you guys tonight, I find it important.
ahead.
My son was one of the Marines that died yesterday. 20 years and 6 months old, getting ready to come home from freaking Jordan to be with his wife to watch the birth of his son. And that feckless, dementia-ridden piece of crap just sent my son to die. So my son is gone. And I just want all you Democrats who cheated in the election or who voted for him legitimately, you just killed my son. 2 Marines showed up at my house at 4 o'clock in the morning to tell me my son was dead. So, my name is Kathy McCullum. My son was Riley James McCullum. You can check it out. His wife, she might not want me to say her name. They just got married on February 14th, and they're expecting a baby on September 26th. And I just can't. I just couldn't sit by idly because I think I need to just process through anger instead of tears. And so this is how I'm going to do it. And Laura Bobert's coming to my house tomorrow. My representative will be at my house tomorrow. And we'll speak, and hopefully she'll be able to convey my message to the rest of the United States. That this was, she said, your son did not die in vain, but guess what? My son did die in vain. This was an unnecessary debacle that could have been handled properly. They had months and months to remove everyone from Afghanistan, and they chose not to. And so they sent in freaking, 6,000 troops? And my son, through the laws of statistics, my son was one of the ones who just got blown up in a freaking terrorist bomb yesterday. So I know you'll check it out, and that's fine. So instead of grieving and crying, I'm just getting mad.
So while this mother, you guys, is going through this, and just for you guys that are aware, if some of you guys go and look for this video, there's a lot of information that's going out there right now about she wasn't a part of his life, it was a dad that raised him and all that. That may or may not be true, but it's irrelevant. That's his mom. And regardless of whatever the history is, she gave birth to him, and obviously it's something that moves her. She has a right to feel that way. So, like I said, I haven't vetted some of the stories that are going out there that people are trying to say about her, and the mainstream media is attacking her. But like I said, it doesn't matter. It's a mom, and she lost her son. And for those of us that have lost people that are close to us, we know how that feels. And meanwhile, as we know how that feels, this Joe Stupid, this is what it meant to him, you guys.
Joe Biden has been slammed for appearing to check his watch after saluting the fallen Kabul heroes as their bodies arrived back in the U.S. today. The president and his wife, First Lady Jill Biden, met the families of service members killed in the terror attack in Afghanistan before witnessing the transfer of the military members' bodies from an aircraft at Dover Air Force Base. After the seemingly gaffe-prone president saluted and paid tribute to the 13 troops, he dropped his arm and appeared to glance at his watch, prompting a barrage of criticism. Critics slammed the president, with some calling for him to show some respect. "Sorry, Mr. President, did you have something more interesting to go to?" one social media user said. A second said, "This is so bad. At first glance I was thinking, a sleeve got caught, but yeah, kind of." Second watch, "Definitely bored/bothered to be there." A third wrote, "Yeah, that wasn't a good look." And dozens of social media users poked fun at Biden and claimed he was running late for his nap time.
Sorry about that little ad that popped up there, you guys, but I'm using a different YouTube account that I'm not paying the premium on. Give me 1 second real quick as I line up some other things. A couple other videos I'm going to skip over. One of them was just talking about the drone strike that happened. If you guys have been watching the news, our administration, because they're trying to save face, they're trying to make it look like they did something good. So they're saying, hey, we took an attempted suicide bomber that was going in a vehicle. We took out another hotel, and what we're finding out is, yeah, they took out one guy. Whether he's good or bad, we don't know that yet because they're not releasing names. But there's also some children and some Afghan people that were taken out in the process. Let me share one more. So this next one that I'm going to show, and the reason I want to show this video is we used to be the powerhouse of the world. Well, let me rewind. We are the powerhouse of the world, but we're losing it. You know, we're losing that image on its face, and we're emboldening, you know, our foes, the people that are against us, because, like I said, we have a fake commander-in-chief who can't even handle tough questions from a reporter.
Hey,
and I want to talk about this after we watch it, because this one pisses me off.
From the most interesting guy that I know in the press. That's you.
Mr. President, there had not been a U.S. service member killed in combat in Afghanistan since February of 2020. You set a deadline, you pulled troops out, you sent troops back in, and now 12 Marines are dead. You said the buck stops with you. Do you bear any responsibility for the way that things have unfolded in the last 2 weeks?
I bear responsibility for fundamentally all that's happened of late. Here's the deal. You know, I wish you'd one day say these things. You know as well as I do that a former president made a deal with the Taliban that he would get all American forces out of Afghanistan by May 1. In return, the commitment was made, and that was a year before. In return, he was given a commitment the Taliban would continue to attack others, but would not attack any American forces. Remember that? I'm being serious. I'm asking you a question. Because before... No, wait a minute. I'm asking you a question.
Hey, pause here real quick. So this shitbird right here he's the president of the free world, the most powerful position that ends, and he wants to shoot something back at Peter Doocy because he's confronting him with the tough question. And my speculation is he's doing this because he's trying to give the people in his ear a chance to develop a remark for him to say. But let me continue on.
Is that accurate, the best of your not? What?
Okay. What's this, you guys? This is just freaking embarrassing. He's clutching his freaking his planner or his book, whatever the hell it is. He's clutching it like if he's in sheer pain. I don't know if this is just because he's freaking geriatric or what the hell's going on, or because it's so stressful to actually have a legitimate question come from a reporter that he just wants to. I mean, think about what with toddlers, you know, like I have a little one on the way. You know, you close your eyes and all the bad people go away and all the bad stuff goes away. It's almost like this is what he's doing, that he's so much of a fucking coward that he's going to close his eyes, he's going to clutch himself and go into a standing fetal position because he can't handle one freaking question.
I think they have an issue that people are likely to get hurt. Some, as we've seen, have gotten killed, and that it is messy. The reason why, whether my friend will acknowledge it or has reported it, the reason why there were no attacks on Americans, as you said, from the date until I came into office, was because the commitment was made by President Trump, I will be out by May 1st. In the meantime, you agree not to attack any Americans. That was the deal. That's why no American was attacked.
I want to rewind this for just a second because he's trying to diss Trump, and I want to make sure you guys caught what he just said. So let me just go back a few seconds.
By May 1st, in the meantime, you agree not to attack any Americans.
Just a little bit more. Okay, here we
Date
go.
until I came into office was because the commitment was made by President Trump. I will be out by May 1st. In the meantime, you agree not to attack any Americans. That was the deal. That's why no American was attacked.
Okay. So this dude is so freaking stupid that he's trying to diss Trump. And he literally just gave Trump prompts. He said the reason no American had been killed from this time to this time is because Trump had negotiated a plan, and that's why no American was killed. Now, I just don't understand. Granted, this is Fox, I'm sure it showed on CNN. How can the liberals on the left, and not even the left, how can the people, the communists that we're dealing with on the left, hear who they believe is the rightful president of the United States, give credit that the only reason American troops were not killed was because of the former president? But yet you go and you read the Washington Times, you read the New York Post, you read all these other things, and all this debacle was because of Trump, who's been out of office for 8 months. Well, here's your answer, and I agree. I agree with the geriatric fool on this one, that the reason nobody had died yet was 100% because of Trump.
Basically, you said you squarely stand by your decision to pull out.
Yes, I do. Because look at it this way, folks. And I have another meeting for real. But imagine where we'd be if I had indicated on May the 1st I was not going to renegotiate an evacuation date. We were going to stay there. I'd have only one alternative: pour thousands of more troops back into Afghanistan to fight a war that we had already won relative to why the reason we went in the first place. I have never been of the view that we should be sacrificing American lives to try to establish a democratic government.
All right, guys, I'm going to cut this one a little bit short. There's a part at the end that I wanted you guys to hear, and as he's allegedly taking responsibility, he says fundamentally, so he's already laying out, an asterisk next to his taking responsibility. But then he blames his generals. He says, well, I made this decision because of what my generals told me to do. So you have a lot of people, a lot of the arguments that I've had on social media is, well, it wasn't Biden's fault. He wasn't in the military. He's following what the general said. And I said, okay, I'll give you that argument. If I think it's bullshit, but I'll give you that argument. Then explain this to me. Why is the geriatric dumbass not asking for these generals to resign? If the entire debacle of Afghanistan is because his generals gave him bad information, and he still got those generals in positions of power and influence to tell him and guide him in the future, then he's still a dumbass because he's still making another bad decision. So however you try to spin it, this geriatric dumbass and his cabinet don't know what the hell they're doing, and it shows by all the lives that it costs from our service members. Let's see. I'm going to skip the next video as well because there's some things I want to get to. We'll probably go about 10 over, you guys. I apologize. But the next video was from one of the Pentagon speakers, and it was just talking about all the ISIS-K prisoners. And we'll take a moment on that as well. But it was talking about all the ISIS-K prisoners that were released from Bagram. And you're talking thousands. And it was just, I wanted to show it to you guys because a lot of people say, no, it wasn't. There was just a few. And this is someone from the Pentagon clarifying and going on the record that no, it was thousands and thousands of ISIS-K people that were let out. And I want to address this ISIS-K before I forget about it. And just so you guys know, I'm going by a whim. I had some really cool notes that I wrote right here. But like I said, we're ad-libbing and we're going. So, cheers, roll with me, drink your coffee, have your wine tickle. But we'll go ISIS-K. The only reason you have it's a play on words, you guys. If you guys haven't been paying attention to what the last couple of months have been, or I would even venture to say the last year and a half has been, because they started doing it, as Trump was getting ready to leave his first term, is they play with words because if you pay attention, and part of this show is I want to bring you guys into focus on the things. I want to make you guys investigators. And one of those things you got to do is pay attention to their words. If you pay attention to their words, it's going to hint you towards the direction of what their next narrative is going. And as you can see, one, we're already making comments. You know, even the CCP China's making comments of looking like the Taliban. You know, do they want to make themselves a recognized government? Or is everybody forgetting who the fucking Taliban is and who ISIS is? And we want to recognize them as a legitimate government? There's a reason people are jumping onto the sides of our military airplanes and falling thousands of feet to their death, because these people they're no good. So back to the point I wanted to make with ISIS-K. The only reason you would make we'll say a variant of ISIS is because you want to start articulating that there's a good form and a bad form. And so when you start projecting that ISIS-K is the bad one and ISIS-K is the uncontrollable one, then all of a sudden regular ISIS doesn't seem so bad. Now, when we remember about all our news reporters that were beheaded and people that are beheaded and the atrocities that are happening right now, ISIS is a piece of shit. They're as evil. They're about the only ones that I can think of that are more sinister and will kill people in the most horrific ways more than the cartel. It would be ISIS and the Taliban. So just understand that I'll use ISIS-K for the purposes of this episode, since it's a topic that got brought up. But I will do my best to make sure, and I challenge you guys that when we're messaging, use ISIS. Don't use ISIS-K, because then we support what the narrative that they're trying to throw out there. ISIS is ISIS, you guys. You know, just like, you know, there's someone in Spaces that always tells us you can't have a variant of a variant of a variant. Same thing. You can't have an ISIS of an ISIS of an ISIS. They're all the same shitbags. Let's see. So as we go in, you guys will appreciate this video. So obviously, we were seeing a video where this fake president is looking at his watch because he just doesn't care about the sacrifice of our service people that died. But not only does this Biden guy not care or respect our military, but he happens to not respect other world leaders as well. And most of you know exactly what I'm probably about to show. So here you go. This is our fake president with the world leader.
Yet another chapter in the beautiful story of the friendship between our two nations, the United States of America and the Jewish Democratic State of Israel. Both of us who seek to do good and need to be strong. Both of us who are
So I've heard the mainstream media go out there and say, but no, he's not asleep. You know, he was given a moment of silence. For who? Okay? I've heard other ones saying, no, he's focused, he's twiddling his thumbs. Now I've watched this video, you know, a couple times over to see if I see him moving his thumbs. The only thing I can see is this old piece of shit is asleep in the chair, and they're probably screaming at him in his earpiece as the other world leader starts to wrap up his statement, trying to wake him up. But this is just freaking embarrassing. But you left, you voted for him. I hope I have some liberals. If you guys know some liberals, invite them next week. I'd like to get them in here and get them in the comments. You know, I'll tell you one thing on this channel, you guys, is just be prepared on YouTube. We're gonna probably have the Alpha Warrior Show 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, because I'm not gonna buy into the censorship shit. I'll try to defeat the algorithms by using some symbols, you know, like jibby jab and things like that. I'll try to buy us some time, but I'm not going to censor it. And because of that, the account's going to get flagged and it's going to get nuked. But I give two shits about that. So as long as you guys are with me and we subscribe to the channels that keep coming, hey, I'll keep putting in the elbow work. Now that I've kind of reminded us, because I think most of you I'm looking at the names and it's a lot of familiar names, we know that Biden's a puppet. So if he's the puppet, who's the puppet master? And there's a gentleman by the name of George Soros. And like I said, a lot of you guys are familiar with who this person is. You've done you've done the homework. And let me tell you one thing: it's difficult to pay attention to what I'm saying and try to keep track of your guys' chat. But keep it going because I'm loving it, and I'll learn how to multitask with it. But there's George Soros, and I'm going to show some clips just for those that aren't familiar with him to show you who he is. But I want you to understand, this is the puppet master that they allow us to see. I don't want you to think that this is the puppet master that is at the head of the pyramid, that top 1%, because he's not. If we know the name, then we don't know who the top 1% is. So remember that. Overtime, yeah, Tonkin, we're gonna go on a little bit of overtime, maybe about 10 or 15 minutes. So, and I apologize. But here we go, a little bit of George Soros, you guys. Oops, wrong ones. Find a way to make this faster, I promise. So I forwarded the clip. I was going to show the whole thing. It's about 6 minutes, but like I said, we're pressed for time. So I'm going to show this part. The person that created the video did a pretty good job of, you're going to hear it repeat himself 3 times, and he's going to go on to his dialogue, and then he's going to repeat himself 3 times. But the 2 parts where he repeats himself, it's important. So you got to listen to what he says, and then you guys will recognize another familiar face that jumps into this.
Is when I refocused my attention on the United States. I came to the realization that open society is endangered by our current leadership in this country, and that is when I refocused my attention on the United States. I came to the realization that open society is endangered by our current leadership in this country, and that is when I refocused my attention on the United States.
And we need people like George Soros, who is fearless and willing to step up when it counts. So please join me in welcoming George Soros.
It is the first time that I feel that I need to stand up and do something really and become really engaged in the electoral process in this country. The reason I feel that I had to get engaged is because I don't think this is a normal election. The reason I feel that I had to get engaged is because I don't think this is a normal election. The reason I feel that I had to get engaged is because I don't think this is a normal election.
Now, I like the fact that, like I said, the person that made this video showed that part 3 times, because everybody's always asking, you know, well, where's the proof with the election fraud? And like I said, we'll go into that in the next episode. Next week we're going to talk a lot about the election. But you have George Soros, and if you guys want, I challenge you, go do the research. There's a lot. We're going to touch on some topics. Like I said, you know, tonight I wanted to introduce myself. I wanted to introduce the channel. As the shows progress, you know, maybe I can find a way to do two a night, so we can actually touch into the specific details of this. RCH, go up the 4th right. You're absolutely on point. Pay attention to the comments, you guys. You guys will definitely get a lot of tips on information you need to start researching. The rabbit hole in these things is deep, you guys, and I'm not talking about the conspiracy things. I'm not talking about Q. I'm talking about if you go to open source information, and not George Soros is open source. I'm talking about the information that's out there on Google that's not censored, the information that's out there that's on DuckDuckGo. If you go out there and you do a little bit of DD, if there's any apes in here, Semper Fi, thanks for joining us. But you do your due diligence, you're gonna find the information that you guys need. It's not hard to find. Now, whether you choose to believe it or not, that's your own discernment. But the information is not difficult to find. So, like I said, you guys do the work, find it. move on to this next one. I'll do this. Yeah, this one's. I'm not going to skip this one. This one's important, you guys. So if you think that George Soros, it's right wings, it's extremists. The guy's nice. He donates there and donates. There's a quote, and I really wish I knew who said it. But it said, if you want to know who controls the world, then see who you're not allowed to talk about. You guys are going to get the answer right here.
Yeah, look, the number one problem in almost all these cities is George Soros elected left-wing, anti-police, pro-criminal district attorneys who refuse to keep people locked up. Just yesterday, they put somebody back on the street who's wanted for 2 different murders in New York City. You cannot solve this problem, and both Harris and Biden have talked very proudly about what they call progressive district attorneys. Progressive district attorneys are anti-police, pro-criminal, and overwhelmingly elected with George Soros' money, and they're a major cause of the violence we're seeing because they keep putting the violent criminals back on the street.
I'm not sure we need to bring George Soros into this. I was going to say you get the last word, Speaker.
He paid for it. I mean, why can't we discuss the fact that millions of dollars he spent?
I agree with Melissa. George Soros doesn't need to be a part of this conversation.
Okay. So it's verboten.
All right, we're good.
There you have it. That's Fox News, you guys. Now, granted, Fox is just as corrupt as the rest of them. But when you're that afraid to have and Newt is not just some nobody. The guy knows what he's talking about. The amount of information that's available to this man to make intelligent statements is there, and they know it. And the sheer look how awkward that was, that they're not allowed to talk about George Soros. Why? To talk about everybody else. They don't even do that about Biden, or freaking Camel Toe. But you'll do it for George Soros? Yeah, follow the money. I saw somebody put that comment on there. Let's see if I can find it. No, but that one's cool. I like that one. Alright. We'll skip that. There's a lot of CDC stuff I wanted to show, but let's see. I do want to show some video. So one of the things that I've noticed when we get into spaces is there's a lot of people, and there's people that we care about. There's people in the comments that have taken this and they're worried, about what's going to happen. And I'm going to be very honest. Like I said, someone very close to me, including my best friend. People that I love and care about, just like you guys. I know I've taken the jibby jab. But like I said, I'm not going to hide the truth. If you take it, something bad's going to happen to you, assuming you don't get the placebo. Whether it's some ailment or autoimmune disease or worse, fatal, it's going to happen. So I'm telling you guys, if you take it, something's going to happen. So if your job's that important to you, it's a death sentence. If that paycheck is that important to you, then it's a disability. I get it. We're all in a struggle, and it's easy to say. But what I will say for myself and this household and my fiance is that ain't going to happen. And it'll go into when we talk about the precipice and the line in the sand. But I want to show this video, so if there's anybody that's watching, they don't just take my word for it or a few tweets. Here's some information that's from people that have reputations behind them.
Dr. Malone, I'm a simple guy. I'm confused because of what CNBC and everybody's running around with Pfizer. When you look at the letters the way you've broken them apart, these 2 letters, they've actually, and I want to go back to what you said about the data, there's really no data, but they've authorized the use of a vaccine, does that vaccine currently exist? If I want to walk down, not that I'll do it, but if I want to walk down to the doctor and get a vaccine, can I actually get the one that, quote unquote, has this kind of sketchy, shady FDA approval? Is that available right now, to the best of your knowledge, sir?
It's absolutely not available. So the little trick that they've done here is they have issued 2 separate letters for 2 separate vaccines. The Pfizer vaccine, which is what is currently available, is still under emergency use authorization, and it still has the liability shield. Once again, the mainstream media has lied to you. I'm sorry to say that. I know it's a shock to this readership. But the product that's licensed is the BioNTech product, which is substantially similar, but not necessarily identical. It's called Comirnaty. I think that's how it's pronounced. And it's not yet available. They haven't started manufacturing it or labeling it. And that's the one that the liability waiver will no longer apply to. So the one that's actually licensed is not yet available. And when it does become available, it will no longer have the liability shield. In the interim, the one that does have the liability shield is the Pfizer product, and that's what's currently available, and it's still under emergency use authorization. So that's no change. The press has just not done their work and figured out what's actually going on here.
Fine, but that's where we have geniuses like you. I just want to make sure something's clear to the audience. And we're trying to be fair to the FDA and this whole process, this CCP virus. The emergency use authorization as it currently stands by the FDA for Pfizer does not allow its use for children under 16. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. The overall blanket approval for the other one, for BioNTech or whatever it's called, the one that's not fully done yet, does that include, the way you read it, that does not include a full FDA authorization until at least 2023 or 2024 when these other studies are completed, correct?
That's the way I read it. That seems to be the way it's written. And by the way, in terms of the timelines, I just wanted to go back to that. There's a statement that the BLA acknowledges, so that's the license for the BioNTech product. Here's the language. The BLA acknowledges long-term myocardial issues with a 5-year follow-up, which is consistent with the lower range of long-term follow-up for gene therapy products. It appears that banging on them that they haven't applied the gene therapy checklist may have succeeded, and they appear to now, without acknowledging it, starting to apply the requirements that are applied for gene therapy products. But in terms of the cardiac issues, they acknowledge that the myocardial issues will require a 5-year follow-up.
But once this is in place, can the FDA would then have to come back and issue an emergency use authorization for the second one for children, correct? That's clearly not done right now. Is that correct?
I would imagine that what they will do is an emergency use authorization for the pediatric population for Pfizer. So that will keep Pfizer indemnified, because that's something that Pfizer has been seeking in all of their worldwide contracts with other governments, is full indemnification. They will not sell you vaccine unless you waive liability if you're a government, head of state or whatever. So that's the Pfizer position, is we don't want to own the liability here. And you know, that raises the question, what is it they're so scared about? If these are fully safe vaccines, why does Pfizer believe that it has to have liability protection?
I hope you guys caught that information. Let me get this one out there. So I've seen the comments, X-nay on the uniform pictures. You guys, if you guys want the Alpha Show to have an episode 2, I gotta make sure Mama Bear is happy. So sorry, there will be no uniform picture. Maybe I'll give you guys a goat video, but there's not gonna be a uniform picture. So carrying on. As we get into what's going on and try to bring it serious, and maybe I'll take my eyes off the chat for a little bit while you guys have fun. Is America going to rise or fall? Well, one of the first things that we need to do, you guys, we need to look at what's going on in the world around us. What's going on in Australia, what's going on in the UK, what's going on with our neighbors to the north, because all those are the beta tests for what they plan on doing here in the United States. Just understand, if the United States falls, the entire world's done. It ain't coming back. If communism, forget socialism, if communism gets adapted to our United States, that's it. That's it for the entire world. So when you see what's going on in Australia, when you see, the police out there, when you see the doctors and the nurses, the people that we admire here in the States, when you see them turn on the people and they haven't made that decision, when, and I know this, like I said, I've worn the badge and I've carried the uniform. When you take an oath, to protect the Constitution, protect the people. When you're told to do something that's illegal or unethical, as an officer or a ranger or a deputy or whatever job title you have, when you're asked to do something that's unethical and illegal, not only are you not supposed to not do it, but you have a duty and an obligation to do something about it. And like I said, in this show, as we go on, I want to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the community, what the left is trying to do. It's all about division, and we'll talk about that a little bit. We're gonna wrap it up because it all ties in together. Law enforcement, we've always had this excuse is, hey, I'm doing my job, I'm doing what they told me to do. And because we love our law enforcement officers, because we support the blue, we've always allowed them some leeway, even when they make mistakes, because we know it's a difficult job. But at some point, and I think we're at that point, where the American people are going to say, hey, that excuse doesn't apply no more. Like, you need to do something. You need to stand up. And if there is at any point law enforcement that starts to watch this channel, I'm calling you out. You have one of the most honorable jobs next to the military that anybody can carry. And follow your oath, because the American people, they're counting on you to do it. And if you're not wondering, if anybody wonders, I'll tell you guys right now, and I'll sum it up. This was a conversation I wanted for another episode, but it ties into this. So I'll talk about it briefly. The left wants division, you guys. And the reason they want division, if you go back to the George Floyd and all the other, BLM riots and things that we had going on across the country, it wasn't just because they wanted people to not like cops. They wanted to, and it wasn't just a black and a white thing. They wanted division. That was planting the seed that cops are bad, cops are evil, we need to get rid of them. And that's the key. They want the American people to say, hey, we don't trust law enforcement. We're going to fight with law enforcement. So this way there's division. Because once there's division, and law enforcement agencies, whether it's municipalities, police departments, or whether it's sheriff's departments, once it gets to a point where they can't control the citizens, and even if it's just so slightly, just enough for the left, and we know how they take everything out of context and exaggerate it, if it's just enough for the left to say, hey, our local law enforcement can no longer do the job, we need to institute federal police. And if you think I'm full of it, then why do we have FBI offices and Capitol Police offices, with Capitol Police coming to California and other states when they have no jurisdiction there? It's because the plan is to get a federal law enforcement. And then beyond the federal law enforcement is to bring in the UN. The way we defeat that is no division and peace. And like I said, we'll talk about that right in a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But just understand, they want us to be against law enforcement so they can institute federal police and so they can institute the UN. So be smart, you guys. All right, let me find out where I was. This one and this one. So with the next couple of videos and things that we're gonna show, I want you guys to think about something, because some of these videos are really outrageous. They're just plain evil. I see some of these guys that are in this video, and they're wearing uniforms. They're wearing the badge, and it absolutely disgusts me. But I'm showing it to you guys because it's gonna come to the United States if we don't take the call to action that I'm gonna put on you guys before we call it a night. So let me show this to you guys, and I'm sure you'll share the same opinion with me that it's bad.
Attention, discrimination. Attention. Non, 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 non. C'est de la discrimination. Ne m'adressez pas. Vous ne m'adressez pas. Moi, je ne vous ai pas adressé.
So just to let you guys know what's going on here is they have, I don't know, these are security guards or law enforcement. I've seen a couple other videos where they have bouncers, but it's a grocery store and they're not allowing people to go into the grocery store unless they have their vaccination passports. So that's what you guys are seeing unfold here.
On fait les papiers signés comme quoi ils imposent le pass. On fait les papiers signés comme quoi ils imposent le pass. On le veut. On veut les papiers. On veut voir le directeur. On veut les papiers signés. Le directeur. 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 Le directeur.
And I'm going to move right into the next one so you guys can see it. I'm going to show you. And then, here, let's pull it up.
I'm not sure what the pepper spray is for. It's an 8-year-old girl.
Just so you guys know what you guys are looking at. Here. It's a dad. He's holding on to his daughter. They're here as, if I understand the story correct, there was a contact tracing. His daughter was identified. She's brought to this medical. He brings her to this medical facility because he's cooperating initially, and then, you know, his parental instincts kick in, and he realizes this doesn't seem right. And then you'll see this is what's unfolding now.
You see it on the left there. He just walked out halfway through.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Yeah. Just keep going. Keep filming.
I don't know about you guys, but out of all the videos, outside of the one of the Marine mom that calls in, this is the one that bothers me the most. I'm not this guy, and like I said, I wasn't there, and maybe I don't know all the facts of it. But if you're trying to pull my daughter out of my arms like that, you know, I'm leaving in a body bag, because it ain't gonna happen. You know, my family is where I draw the line. Let me get this next one lined up, and we'll skip that one. There was a video I was going to show, and it's just a bunch of the Aussies that are, you know, doing the call to action for us, the American people. But this is what I'll say, guys. This is what I'll share with me, and I can only make this decision for me. When they came to my home with the search warrant, I cooperated. When they took away my guns with an illegal gun violence protective order, I cooperated. When they arrested me and they threw me in a solitary confinement cell and took me away, the first night that I ever spent away from my little girl, my brand new little daughter, was because I got thrown into an isolation cell. I cooperated. The attorney bills, the court things, everything that I've been going through, I've cooperated because I will allow the law. I'm a firm believer that the truth will surface. I will allow the law to take its course, and I support that. But for me, and I only speak for myself, if you try to put something in my body, or you try to put something in the body of my kids or my loved ones or my fiance, well, it ain't gonna work out well. That's where I draw the line. That's where you lose my cooperation, and that's where you're gonna see, you know, the power of me being a dad, or the power of the love that I have for my fiance. And like I said, I can't speak for everybody, but I've already made the decision that my precipice, my line in the sand is my family, and you guys need to start thinking about that. And the reason I'm telling you guys, yeah, this video is not in the United States, but there's an article, and I'll just read it. I'm not going to put it up on the screen to save some time, but it says, Cook County judge strips mother of parental rights because she is not vaccinated. So the story here is there's a custody battle going on. They were going back. This was a child support portion that they were going to go talk about. They had already established 50-50 custody. Everything was already set. This was just for child support. But during the course of this, the judge asked the mom if she's vaccinated, and her response is no. She's lost her parental rights because of that. So now she's only allowed to talk to her child through Zoom and telephone calls, and the judge won't allow her to have her custody back until she's a parent. Until she gets the vaccination, and then she gets her parental rights back. That's here in the United States. That's not Australia. That's not the UK. And if you look at the videos, and I know I didn't play all of them, but it kind of led up to this, because this is the beta test. This is one family story. This is one court case. This is one county judge. But the left is looking at this. And the reason I'm telling you guys to pay attention to this, the reason I'm telling you guys, call this court up. Share your opinion. Write letters. Call up your legislator. Even if it's not your city, even if it's not your county, even if it's not your state. Because they want to see the reaction of the American people. Now, here's an example I'm going to show you guys. If you guys remember, it was a month and a half ago, was there not talk of they're going to go door to door? They're going to go door to door, and they were going to ask who's vaccinated and who's not. Yeah, I know you guys haven't forgot about it. Give me some thumbs up if you guys remember. It didn't happen. And the reason it didn't happen is because every damn conservative or even centric lefties was on social media. They were on news outlets. What did everybody say? And like I said, I'm not advocating for violence. So for the FBI agent that's looking at this video, because I know you are, I'm not advocating for violence. But what did every freaking American say? You come to my damn door and I'm going to answer with two barrels pointing at you in the face. And they knew everybody was fucking serious. They knew people weren't joking. And because of it never happened. So what I'm telling you guys is when shit like this happens, we need to get out of the mindset, well, it's not my state or it's not my county, because they want to see what they can get away with, and then it's going to be implemented in your county. I just got a message from one of my sources on, it's good news for here in California, about the AB, I believe it's 544, but it has a lot to do with what's this going on. But I'm telling you guys, you have, even when it's not related to you, you have to stand up. If you have no kids, still go down to the local school board and be a part of that. Be a voice in that. Be a movement in that. As a matter of fact, because you don't have a student or a kid there, you can probably say things that the parents are afraid to say because they don't want the kids to deal with the retaliation from the superintendent or the teachers or counselors or anything like that. But get involved, because if we stop them from coming door to door because we scared the shit out of them with just our words, then we need to continue that. This is a war, you guys. It's unconventional. It's not with bullets, it's not with tanks, and it's not with planes, but it's an information war. And this is one of the ways that we defeat it. So like I said, pay attention and do something, because it works. Because if you don't, a lot of us, have custody battles, and all we need is somebody to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to exploit that. And then we're going to be looking for people to support us. Another article was just about vax passports. We'll skip over that. I will show this picture. right here, because this is important. Because not only is George Soros our enemy, but we can't forget about good old Camel Toe. Kamala Harris poses in front of the communist Ho Chi Minh bus, the worst photo op for an American in that country since Jane Fonda donned a helmet there in 1972. Now, she's raising her right hand, and pictures are significant, you guys. You know, when is she, whether she is or she isn't, the representation of when you're like this is like when you take an oath. You know, is it an allegiance or whatever the case may be? China's our enemy. We all know it. I know you guys know it. I don't have to explain it to you. But just understand, this is one of those things that this is propaganda. This is psyops. All, like I said, in an information war, you're dealing with psyops. You get people on the left to see this. This comes across your Twitter feed. First thing you're going to say is, oh, freaking Camel Toe's a freaking communist, and I agree with you. But what I'm doing is I'm challenging you guys is retweet these things and fight it. Expose it for what it is, so the people on the left don't see it as, well, it's okay. And I'm not talking about the ones that are so far left that we deal with in some of these chats that they're not going to change. But what I'm telling you guys is there are some people that they haven't been exposed to anybody on the right. They don't have conservative friends. They've been isolated to nothing but that's on the left. And because of that, they believe it a certain way. And it doesn't make them a bad person. It may make them not so bright. It may make them not have common sense, but it doesn't make them an evil person. And we're all Americans, you guys. When the dust settles, I've said it tons of times, when the dust settles, we have to live together. We got to look out for our brothers on the left, our sisters on the left, regardless if we don't agree with some of the political views. We know that they're being fooled. We know that there's psyops happening to them. Well, what are we going to do about it? And we address it. We see things like this, we talk about it. We let them know, hey, look it, she's showing allegiance to communist country. That's what we deal with it, you guys. Let me rush this up. We'll wrap this up in about 5 minutes, you guys. Maybe 6. There's an important video that I want to show you guys. I talked about this a couple of nights ago in one of the TRC town halls that we're in. And a lot of people, you know, Dick, I hope you're watching tonight, man. I really respect a lot of the things you say. I love having conversations with you. A lot of people still are under the mindset that I'm waiting for Trump to come save me. I'm waiting for the military to come save me. It ain't gonna happen. The military doesn't have a plan. So regardless of what you are following and what you believe, I'm telling you guys right now, if there's one man that I trust more than Trump, if there's one man that I'm gonna listen to what he says, if there's one man that can give me a call to action and I'm not gonna acknowledge it, if there's one man that said, hey, Alpha, go find a way to squeeze into your old Marine uniform and we're gonna go, this is the man. It's General Flynn. And I want you guys to listen to what he says. I'm gonna play it. This is probably gonna be about 5 or 6 minutes. I may have to rewind it just a second. Actually, I won't rewind it. Essentially what it is, the guy asked him a question and he said, hey, if there is no plan, you know, and he does, you know, Trump does this from time to time and we know what that means, and you know, General Flynn does, you know, why aren't you guys not disavowing it, but why aren't you guys addressing it and saying that it's not there so people know that, hey, it's on the American people? So General Flynn decides he's going to answer it. Here's his answer. Let me share it real quick. Got ahead of myself there. Tell you what, I have a whole lot of respect for you, Michelle, if you're watching, because this is a lot more technical than meets the eye. But it's fun. I'm having fun with it too, you guys.
About what I feel when I go around the country, and I get kind of what I call a fingertip feel. I'm
going to rewind it just a little bit, you guys.
Question for General Flynn on the topic.
Yes, General. First of all, thank you for everything. And, you know, I've been saying nonstop, I've been preaching nonstop for people to get involved, get off your butt and get in the game. Whether it's local, whatever it is, you can have a part, you have a role to play. God's given you a gift. You need to use it to help your country right now. Okay, so what else can we do if, in other words, they say the elections this stuff is going to take years to unravel through the legal systems and all these things. What else can we do? And I guess my biggest question to you would be, I've got a lot of people that say, well, Brad, if this is not true, if there is no plan, if there is no whatever, why hasn't Trump and General Flynn come out and squashed this a long time ago? Because, Trump is, doing this in his speeches and whatnot. So what are we to tell people?
Yeah. So I can't speak for President Trump. In my case, and Brad, it's good to see you. I'll speak for myself. I have talked about this before. I have said it, different places, different shows. Probably not as adamantly as I'm saying it now, but I do stay in touch with President Trump, and I do talk to him to just give him advice about what I feel when I go around the country, and I get kind of what I call a fingertip feel, a sense of the sentiment of the population of this country, and I feel like I have a really good sense of that. I feel like I've tried to describe it here and described it on other shows. But I think what people are looking for is they're looking for some magical fairy dust to fall from the sky, and then, and poof, everybody is going to be, Trump's back in office and like nothing happened. I mean, you don't have, let's down to brass tacks here. You don't have 50 executive orders ready to go on day one of a new administration, okay, like this administration did. I mean, you're talking about a well-orchestrated plan to take this country over and to make the election go their way no matter what. That, like I said, the day that I've learned this over time, the day now that I say when the election was lost was not on the 3rd of November, it was on the 2nd of November. Okay, when the Republican Party was not prepared, was ill prepared to take on the fight that we have been undertaking to fight back on this election fraud. Okay, they had their lawyers in place in various states around the country, and as we were talking earlier, I'd like to see an audit in 50 states, but really what I'd like to see is an audit in 6 counties. 50 states is fine. I'd like to see it in 6 counties. I mean, Trump can say what he wants. And what I'm telling you is that the plan in this country, when the chips are down, is to rely on the people of this country, just like we've had to do over the history of this country. Okay, and are we in a state of warfare right now? Yeah, we're in a war right now. We're in a bit of a war right now. We're definitely in a war overseas with various enemies. Chinese, the Chinese communists, as a communism as an ideology, radical Islamism as an ideology, and the sort of the meeting of the minds of those two, which is really dangerous for our system of our way of life. So when the chips are down, people stand up. If there's something that I learned, Brad, that I had the chips down on me for 4 years, and the thing that I relied on, and honestly, I can say this very honestly, and because it worked, I relied on the American people. And I continued to engage the American people through the various means that I did, and my family was a big part of that. And the American people came to my rescue and rescued me. So to use that as a metaphor, to use me as a metaphor for this country, the American people now, and it wasn't hundreds of millions of people, it was really tens of thousands, but they came to my rescue and they rescued me. So now what I'm asking the American people, as we talk about the plan, right? The plan is we the people. So, and we the people better come to the rescue of America, and we better do it in a way that at least for now, has to be done smartly, has to be done morally, but has to be done right now. And people have to have a level of energy. They have to have a level of responsiveness and a sense of urgency like I have. I have a sense of urgency in me that doesn't allow me to sleep all that much. And it's not because, I'm losing sleep. No, I don't want to sleep. I don't want to be asleep right now. I want to be alive and awake, and I want to use the God-given talents that I have, and I want to, apply them through you. I want to apply them through the people that I meet on a daily basis. The people of this country are going to need to come to the rescue of this country. That's the plan. So if people want to know, what do we do? I'm telling you, come to the rescue of this country and figure out how you're going to do that, whether you're going to do that through putting more demands on your clergymen in your churches, whether you're putting more demands on your town council men or town council women, or you're putting more demands on your school committees, or putting more demands on your local and state representatives and senators, or your congressional representatives, right? I mean, we have, I don't want to overstate this, but we have more authority than people know. We have a lot more authority than people know. What we are told to do sometimes when you go in front of a school board, like I've seen people, the school board, they kind of give you the, okay, shut up and sit down. You've had your piece, or turn her mic off, right? Turn her mic off. And we can't, it's okay. We can't have that. We can't have that. And I think that, I think that that's what we need to do, Brad. Right. This is a time, this is a moment in our history. Our founders found something that didn't exist. Okay. They found something that didn't exist. It was a new world. And then they created something out of whole cloth, right? They took it and they created it. We already have it. Our problem now is we don't have to find it. We have to rediscover America. We have to rediscover what it means to be an American, because we already have it. We could lose it. We could lose it overnight, and and the left is going to try to take this thing as quickly as they can.
Yeah, Doug.
So anyway, that's I got to watch my back.
There you guys have it. It's the call. It's the call to action, you guys. I'm gonna wrap this up. Some of this other stuff, we'll cover it next week. But this call to action, this is what my challenge is to you guys. I want to be here. Like I said, we'll have fun on here. I know today was a little bit more serious. Sharing my part of the story and what's going on. It is serious what's going on. But I will try to make it, to where we have some fun, and whether you guys realize it or not, by nature I am actually a clown. I like to screw around. That's my babe said that's why she fell in love with me. She looked past the ugliness because she said I was a clown. But the fundamentals, this is how we win. First, it's with this. That's the first thing. The second, it's with this. Let me see if it'll zoom in. The Constitution. Take pride. Go order something. Put it on your walls. Teach your kids. You can read this several times in a day. Cover to cover. You need to know what your First Amendment is, your Second Amendment is. You need to know what all the amendments are. But specifically, you need to know the verbiage of these first ones, you guys. But it's time now. This is what my call to action to all you guys is. I saw in the comments, and I'm glad somebody brought it up with the Chase Banks and what they did to General Flynn today. Is for those that, if you didn't catch up with the comments, Chase is closing down General Flynn's accounts. Now, I know how this feels. I probably don't have the amount of zeros that the general has, but when all this happened, not only did I get put on the TSA watch list, but I had 3 letters from Bank of America that my checking and 2 savings accounts were being closed, and that there was no way I could appeal it, and there was no reason given. But I'm sure we know the reason, because it happened to a bunch of conservatives. This was with Bank of America. So this is what I'm telling you guys. If you care anything about what I shared with you tonight, if you care anything about what the general has shared, if you care anything about what you see on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, if any of that shit matters to you, and you truly mean what you say, and you're still banking with Chase, and you're still banking with Bank of America, I'll tell you right now, don't follow me. Unsubscribe. If my story, along with Generals and all the other Patriots, if that's not enough to make you say, you know what, I'm going to take the inconvenience and I'm going to go and give up a bank account that I've had 10, 15, 20 years. I'm going to go give it up and I'm going to take the inconvenience. I might have to miss a day of work. If I or all these other Patriots, if we don't matter enough to you that you can't close a fucking bank account, don't follow me. I don't need people like that following me. I don't need people like that subscribing to this channel. I'm telling you guys right now, if we have 5 people that are going to be on here, then I'll work with 5 people. I'd rather have 5 badass alpha warriors in my corner than 2,000 people that are going to do a bunch of these and these and these, but ain't going to do shit when it comes time to put in work. I don't want that, because you're not going to make a difference. If my story matters and all the stories of what you're hearing matters, close those fucking accounts. That's the first thing you can do. And don't just close it. Let them know why. Write an email. And then post that shit on your social media so other people can say it and be like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow that lead. This is my challenge to you guys. It's time to get our asses off the couch. If you haven't gotten anything, and I know we just touched it, and I had to rush through some things as long as it's taking. If you haven't realized that there's an attack on us as the American people, and that we're in a fight for this country right now. We're not in a fight for a presidency. We're not in a fight. Those things may be happening, but what's going on right now is we're in a fight for this fucking country. This is... We're it, you guys. I don't know how else to explain it to you. We either win this or lose this for our kids. And you need to ask yourself, what sacrifice? The general said it, and I respect this man. We have to be willing to sacrifice. He's not just talking about giving up coffee. He's not just talking about, oh, I'm not going to wear my mask today. And those things are important. I'm not trying to say they're not. What he's saying is you have to be prepared to give a sacrifice that hurts. It may be losing a job. It may be losing your home. It may be losing your freedom. It may cost you your life. When they took one of my tweets out of context, let me explain something to you guys. You can lose your lose your life in this movement without ever throwing a fucking stone. And if you're not aware of that, then I suggest you go on DuckDuckGo tonight and you look up Tank Man. And you look up the photos for those of you that are younger, you probably don't know. For those that are seasoned and got some life experience, you know exactly what photo I'm talking about. But it's a man, and he's holding a briefcase, and he's standing in front of a line of a shitload of fucking tanks in a communist country. And a lot of people died during that event. So understand that this may cost you your life. It may cost you your freedom. But if we go all the way back to 1775, if we go all the way back to 1776, do you think Paul Revere, do you think Benjamin Franklin, do you think any of these guys had a stress-free life? Do you think any of those guys that signed their name on the Declaration of Independence were like, yeah, I put my name on it, I'm not worried about it? You don't think they're worried about what was going to happen to them and their families? You don't think that the original Marines and the Blue Coats, you don't think that those people were worried about what could happen to them? Absolutely. You would have to be a complete moron to think that these people were not worried. Guess what? It's our turn. Whether you like it or not, this is what we were born into. This is the generations that all of us are falling into. So whether you are like, I'm telling you right now, and this is what I've been trying to explain to people. You always hear the left saying, oh, you know, with certain intelligence movements, you know, this one, they're always moving the goalposts. One, we can talk about that a whole nother night. I'll tell you who's moving the goalposts. And it's this deep state government that's after our freedoms and after our liberties. Because right now, in the initial phase of all this, it was people like myself and the people from January 6th that were arrested and thrown into solitary confinement. It's us that had our bank accounts taken away. It's us that were put on TSA no-fly list or fly watch list. It happened to us. But that's just the first tier. They wanted to see how far they can go. Then look at who the people that are getting arrested in the months to follow. People they were communicating with. People that didn't even go into the fucking Capitol. People that are just hanging around in the area. And then their bank accounts got shut down. So if you think that, hey, I'm a good person, I'm just trying to live my life, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to ride this out, and I'll see you guys on the other side, 4 years ago, 10 years ago, that shit worked. It ain't gonna work no more. Because what you think is okay today is what they're gonna outlaw tomorrow. And then your ass is gonna be in a solitary confinement. Your ass is not gonna have bank accounts. Your ass is not gonna be able to travel. Benjamin Franklin said it. I hope I'm getting it right. I think it was him. Doesn't matter if it wasn't. You know, you guys can fact check me on this one. But he said, either we all hang together or we most definitely will hang individually. So what he said is we either fight together. Chances are, if we're going to die, we're going to die. Do you want to die as a group or do you want to die individually? Now, I don't think it's going to get that far if we stand up now. And if we don't defend the First Amendment, you guys, then the only thing left is the Second Amendment. Then the only thing left is what they want, violence. The only thing left is what they want, civil war. The only thing left is what they want, fucking chaos. Because then they get to implement the plan that they had with the 16-year plan and so on. You know, look up, 201, look up 2030. It's out there. They don't make it a secret. It's in text. If we don't do something now, then it's going to play into what they want. If you guys don't want to see a civil war, then be a fucking voice. Call your legislators, go to your school boards, local action, get off the couch, run for something, do something. Because if you don't, I'm telling you, save this episode. If you don't get your ass off the couch, the inevitable is what they want. And we will lose America. Because we won't win that, you guys. Because even if we win, and I'm not talking about we won't win a civil war. There's tons of conservatives. We have more guns than anyone in the country. Well, we would win it, undoubtedly. But the cost of what we would win it at is something we would never survive from. It's nothing that our generation and the generations behind, they would live. We would destroy what this country was built upon, and we would show that the Constitution doesn't work. So if we want to bypass all that, then guess what? Be a voice. Get your ass off the couch and go do something. With that, I'm going to sign off. I had a great time, you guys. I had to work through some of this stuff. I kind of learned some things as I was going. Hopefully, I ironed this out, over the next few episodes. Next week or the following, so either next week it'll be Monday, the following week it'll be Tuesday. I'm going to have a guest on. It's one of the fathers. His son is locked up in solitary confinement out there in D.C. We'll spend the last 15 minutes or 20 minutes of the episode going over with him, and then hopefully that's something I can keep up. Also, we'll be having Dr. Julianne Mikovits is going to be doing an interview with us soon, and some other good names. So there are some people that are a lot more important than me, guys, that are going to be coming. I saw in the text that a couple of you guys have had to take this, and I'm not going to leave you guys with fear mongering. One of the things that I talked to Dr. Judy Mikovits when I was at the Anaheim conference, because like I said, there's people that I really care about that took it, is there something that we can do for them? I didn't get a clear answer, but what I was told is there's very, very smart people that are working on that. So it's hope. So like I said, Pfizer already acknowledged that 50% of this that went out there were placebos. So hopefully, if you got one, hopefully it's that. But even if you did get it, God Almighty is the one that decides who goes and how they go. So pray. Because it doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't matter what doctors say. He up there can control anything that happens into your body. He up there can undo anything that happens to your body. I do want to do an episode here coming up where we get to dive into what's inside of this and the truth behind it. But like I said, you guys, shoot me comments. Definitely like, definitely subscribe. But leave me comments of things that you want to hear. If there's guests that you know about, let me know. One thing that I'm trying, that I don't know if it's going to happen because there's not a lot of time left, but one of the things I'm going to work my ass off over the next 2 days is I'm going to try to get in contact with Larry Elder and see if he wants to come do an interview on a new conservative show to answer your guys' questions and let us know if he's truly what he is, and we'll go from there. I had a great time, you guys. I'm going to throw up a photo with some names on it to pay tribute because it's more important than anything that I got to say. But that's it, and I will catch you guys next week. It was a joy. I love you all, and Semper Fi.